Welcome to Thriller Recaps. Today, I am explaining the series, Gril From Nowhere, The Ugly Truth and Apologies, explaining every scene as it happens. Watch till the end, and please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy this. Mr. Win, a teacher at an all-girls Thai high school, proposes to the school board that they support his idea of students engaging in meditation activities. He believes this would improve learning and strengthen relationships between students and teachers. The board embraces his idea enthusiastically, noting the positive reputation it has already brought to the school. Meanwhile, another teacher, Miss Molly, suggests the school launch a campaign promoting awareness about health and safety, but her idea nearly gets her fired. On her first day at school, a new student named Nanno introduces herself to her class. Later, Mr. Win visits Miss Molly's class to ask for volunteers to join him after school in recording a meditation video. ING and Nanno agree to participate, and after school, they meet with Mr. Win for the rehearsal. As the video is recorded, Mr. Win assists them with their yoga postures. That night, he spends time at home with his wife, Juan, and their daughter, Val. The next day after school, May, who sits near Nanno, tries to tell her something, but ING interrupts, reminding them that they need to head to practice so they won't be late. Nanno tells ING that Mr. Win cancelled the session for the day, so ING heads home. Nanno then asks May what she wanted to say, but May brushes it off, saying it was nothing. Later, Nanno goes to practice alone and explains to Mr. Win that ING wasn't feeling well, so she couldn't come. During the rehearsal, the atmosphere between Mr. Win and Nanno grows tense as the camera continues recording. Mr. Win tells Nanno to meet him at the same time the next day, and she agrees. The following day, May goes to Miss Molly's office, asking for advice for a friend who wants help with a serious decision, hinting at a possible abortion. May asks Miss Molly where her friend might go for this. Understanding that May is talking about herself, Miss Molly gently offers to take her to a safe place, but this scares May, and she rushes out, insisting it isn't about her. Outside the office, she finds Nanno listening in. Nanno offers to take May somewhere safe to get the help she needs. Meanwhile, Mr. Win meets with ING and Nanno, informing them that the rehearsal is cancelled. But then he asks Nanno to meet him privately during lunchtime to reshoot a scene without ING. May overhears this conversation from around the corner. Later, Nanno meets Mr. Win in the studio. He locks the door and shows her a recording of the two of them together, threatening to release it unless she follows his instructions. When she reminds him of his marriage and the consequences, he insists she stays silent, and she reluctantly agrees. After work, Mr. Win is shocked to find Nanno at his house, where she returns his phone directly to his wife. This makes him uncomfortable, especially when his wife, Juan, warmly invites Nanno to join them for dinner. Although he disapproves, Juan also asks Nanno to tutor their daughter, Val, seeing that Nanno is both intelligent and that Val admires her. Mr. Win tries to convince his wife that asking Nanno to tutor Val would be an inconvenience for her, but Juan insists, saying it would be a good idea. She even encourages Val to invite her friend to join them, which frustrates Mr. Win, though he can't voice his objection to Nanno's influence. Later, after leaving for home, Mr. Win receives a voice message from Nanno containing his own threats from the previous night's recording. The next day, he storms into her classroom looking for her, only to learn she's out sick. He calls her, accusing her of stealing his phone and sending herself the voice recording. Nanno denies taking his phone, and he angrily warns that he'll release the recording if she interferes with his family again. He then demands she meet him at the studio after school, and she agrees. Meanwhile, it is revealed that Nanno has been with May, helping her through her situation. After hearing Nanno's call with Mr. Win, May worries for her, but Nanno reassures her and urges her to focus on making her own choice. May, too frightened, decides she can't go through with it. Later, Nanno goes to Mr. Win's house, where she finds Val and her boyfriend in a compromising situation. She offers to take them to a safer place, and they agree, heading over to her apartment. As Mr. Win repeatedly calls her, she borrows Val's phone to answer and gives him an excuse for her delay, then steps aside, leaving Val and her boyfriend alone. Nanno discreetly watches them while a hidden camera records. When Mr. Win calls again, she tells him she's locked outside and asks him to come to the gate. He hurries over, only to find that she isn't there. Mr. Win rushes back, realizing he's been tricked into leaving the studio. Finding the dance studio empty, he soon spots Nanno sitting by the window in the audiovisual room. Angrily, he warns her that she won't be able to access the recordings on the computer, as only he has the password. Calmly, Nanno shows him a live video feed of Val and her boyfriend, who are alone together and beginning to get closer. Mr. Win tries to open the door, but it's locked from the outside. Desperate, he threatens Nanno, but she doesn't flinch. Instead, she tells him to give her the password if he wants to reach Va in time to stop her. Left with no choice, he gives in. Nanno then provides him with the location, and he drives off at once. Meanwhile, as Va and her boyfriend are getting ready to leave, a notification pops up on his phone, a video showing Mr. Win inappropriately behaving with students. Shocked, Va sees the video just as her father storms into the room, furious, and lashes out at her boyfriend. In tears, Va hands Mr. Win the video on her boyfriend's phone and runs out. Distraught, Mr. Win chases after her, while Nanno sends videos and pictures to Juan, along with her current location. Mr. Win finally catches up with Val, who is furious and confused. Their argument spills into the street, and in her haste to escape, Val runs into the path of an oncoming vehicle. She's hit and dies instantly. Horrified, Mr. Win rushes to her side, cradling her, as Juan arrives and pushes him away to hold their daughter. Elsewhere, May sends photos to Miss Molly, revealing her decision to drop out and keep her baby, which stuns Miss Molly. The next day, the school is swarmed with reporters who have obtained copies of the videos. Broken, Mr. Win catches sight of Nanno in the crowd, her smile unshaken. Furious, he vows revenge on her. Nanno arrives at a new school, and 3 friends from the basketball team immediately take an interest in her, peeking at her through the classroom window. They're caught by their coach, who scolds them for causing a commotion, drawing the attention of the entire class, including Nanno. She asks her classmate Idem, who sits beside her, who the boys are. Idem explains that they're popular at school. Ta, sitting on her other side, warns Nanno that they're troublemakers and advises her not to pay attention to them. Nanno notices that Item seems to like the boys, and when she points this out, Item says they already have plenty of admirers. Rumors about Nanno spread around the school, and soon, one of the boys, Hawk, approaches Item with a gift, one for her and one for Nanno. Item seems annoyed by this and, back in class, hands Nanno both gifts, refusing to keep hers even after Nanno says she doesn't want them either. Ta ends up taking the gifts instead. Nanno offhandedly mentions that it's best for Item not to eat it since she's a bit chubby, upsetting Item, who storms off. Later, the boys approach Item and Ta again, offering them concert tickets, but the girls refuse, sensing the tickets are just a way to invite Nanno to a party where the boys have other intentions. After turning down the offer, Item mentions to Ta how it's frustrating that so many people approach them just to talk to Nanno. The next day, Nanno arrives to find a rose on her desk. Without a second thought, she crushes it with her bag, making sure Hawk sees. In a group chat, Item comments that Nanno is pretentious, which prompts a series of similar remarks from others. On their way to lunch, one of the boys, Nung, asks Ta for help with math, and she agrees. Nanno and Item wait for them nearby, but during the tutoring session, Nung starts flirting with Nanno. Ta notices this and quickly leaves, upset, with Item rushing after her. In the restroom, Item finds Ta crying in a stall and asks if she still likes Nung, even though Ta had claimed she didn't. Item warns her that Nung has a bad personality and isn't very smart, but Ta disagrees. After some time, Ta comes out of the stall and tells Item they should accept the concert tickets. Later, Nanno joins the girls at a small party at Hawk's house. She's given drink after drink, but unlike the boys who are drinking with her, she doesn't seem to get drunk, which Item and Ta find odd. They slip some sleeping pills into her drink, and after a while, Nanno appears to fall unconscious. The boys carry her to Hawk's bedroom, intending to take advantage of her while she's unconscious. Just then, Nanno opens her eyes, revealing she was only pretending, startling Hawk. She tries to leave, but the girls and the boys block the door. Nanno turns to Ta and asks if she was really so angry that she'd go this far. Ta replies that Nanno can't leave until the boys are done with her. Hawk then drags Nanno to the bed and, against her will, tries to have his way. Instead of fighting back, she laughs, mocking him, which enrages Hawk until he starts to strangle her. Eventually, she goes limp. Realizing what he's done, Hawk pulls back in shock and calls the others over, and they panic, horrified that Nanno appears dead. Fearing expulsion and jail time, they argue about what to do until Item suggests they bury her. Under the cover of darkness, they begin burying Nanno in an empty field. But just as they start, she suddenly wakes up, shocking them. Desperate and terrified, they keep pushing her back down, trying to silence her and finish the burial. The next day, to their horror, Nanno appears in class, alive and well. The group is gripped with fear, unable to believe it's her. They think it must be her twin. Later, outside, Item and Ta, still paralyzed by fear, confront her, accusing her of being someone else. But Nanno mentions specific details from the night before, proving it was her, leaving them stunned as they bolt from her in fear. That night, the group meets to talk about the terrifying situation they're facing and to figure out what to do next. The girls argue about killing Nanno again, but some of the boys are hesitant. Suddenly, the doorbell rings, and they're shocked to see Nanno at the door. She calmly says she forgot her phone and heads upstairs to Hawk's room. Finding her phone under a cushion, She plays a voice recording of their incriminating conversation. She suggests that she's thinking of sharing it, which terrifies them. In a panic, they jump on her, trying to silence her once more. They take her body back to the same burial site and start digging, but as they begin covering her, she suddenly wakes up, laughing loudly and clutching Hawk's neck, making them scream in horror. Hawk hits her until she passes out again, and they hurriedly continue burying her, only to see her appear nearby, mocking them and asking if they're tired. Desperate, they attack her yet again, only for her to reappear, leaving them to question in terror what she really is. Panicked, they rush to the car but can't find the key. Nanno appears, casually holding it, and hands it to Hawk with a playful peck on the cheek. While the others stand at a distance, paralyzed with fear, she bids them a safe trip home. The next day, Nanno returns to class, triggering a complete breakdown in item and Ta as the horror of what they've done unravels them from within. Please like, share, and subscribe.